Corsica is one of the few places in Europe where many old traditions and customs are still alive to this day. Many of these traditions are primarily concerned with death or the veneration of the dead. One of them has to do with the ones called Mazzeri, the mysterious hunters of the night and the heralds of death. In their appearance and daily life, the Mazzeri are not any different from the other inhabitants of the island. But when the night comes and they fall asleep, death knocks on the door of their dreams. It is said that, when the Mazzeri dream at night, they are taking part in a special hunt. They search for their prey, prowling near water, rivers, or marshes, for in the water there are spirits that will aid them. According to their own account, the Mazzeri are equipped with a variety of weapons: guns, spears, axes, daggers, knives, sticks, and stones. Their preferred weapon is a heavy staff or a cudgel known as a mazza, usually cut from the root and stem of a vine. Women and men hunt together. They must kill or wound the first animal that passes in front of them, usually a wild boar, but sometimes some domestic animal, a goat or a pig. Then they turn the animal on its back and observe it. In its dying moments, they will recognize the voice or the face of a fellow villager. Returning to the village, they announce the villager's name, and with that, their death is now certain. The person mentioned by the Mazzeri will die in the space of time running from 3 days to a year, and always within an uneven number of days. If an animal is only wounded by the Mazzeri, then the person it represents will meet an accident or illness, but not death. But why do this? Don't the Mazzeri have the ability to spare their victims? Some say no, but others explain that if they hunt alone, they can do so by preventing their victim from bleeding out or by bringing back its soul from the dead. However, if they have been invited to participate in a group hunt, they cannot, because those that hunt together are obliged to kill their prey, and if they don't or shoot in the air, they themselves will be the next victim. So, what are the Mazzeri exactly? Sorcerers with mystical powers or just ruthless killers? Surprisingly, no one sees them either way in Corsica, and they have never been persecuted or accused by the relatives of any of their victims. Besides, the victim can even be one of their loved ones. They don't have the ability to choose, since they are obliged to strike the first animal that appears in front of them. Therefore, they would not be able to use this strange power of theirs to harm or take revenge on any enemy. On the other hand, a sorcerer and the malevolent spirits that serve him may have foul intentions, but are not invincible. Ceremonies and invocations can be used to reverse their actions and save a potential victim. But no ceremony can undo the death the Mazzeri foretell. The Mazzeri are not considered killers, but simply messengers of death with psychic powers. The soul of the person who knows that will die enters the animal and presents itself to the Mazzeri. The hunter who strikes the animal wounds the soul, so that the man can no longer live. Many believe that the Mazzeri help the soul to cross the river under their protection, so that it does not lose its way. Others believe that the dead emerge from the waters, and having the Mazzeri as a guide, they prepare the victim's funeral. This is famously called a ghost funeral, that precedes the normal one. The souls of the dead carry away the soul of the victim. People say that their footsteps can be heard echoing in the night. Contrary to the view that the Mazzeri dream of their hunt, many say that they have seen them leave at night from their houses and return before the break of dawn. Some of the remaining few Mazzeri say that they wake up dazed, not remembering anything and wondering why their clothes are torn and full of thorns and weeds. In the end, it seems that the pursuit takes place both in the physical and the astral plane, regarding both the Mazzeri and their victims. This also fits with the fact that the Mazzeri share many of the characteristics of psychics, as they are able to see various omens of death such as ghost funerals and spirits. How does one become a Mazzeri? According to tradition, it depends on 2 factors: predisposition and initiation. To be a Mazzeri, it is necessary to have a psychic gift that opens the door to the spirit world. The origin of the gift is unknown, but it leads to spiritual awareness and priesthood. Without such a gift, no one can become a Mazzeri, for the initiation takes place in dreams. The postulant is co-opted by a practiced Mazzeri who calls him to join him in a dream hunt. Initiations take place most often in adolescence, and Mazzerism runs in certain families. Others say that one cause that creates such a predisposition is that they were baptized incorrectly, meaning that either the priest or the godfather pronounced some words incorrectly or forgot to say them during the baptism, which condemns the Mazzeri to live tied to the forces of death and darkness. But this view probably reflects the opposition between Mazzerism and Christianity, and more generally the opposition between old beliefs and the Church. This is also reinforced by the fact that until relatively recently, there were Mazzeri that regretted their activity and wanted to return to the fold of the Church. They were of course accepted, but only after they had undergone an exorcism. Even though Mazzerism can run in the family, it's not always the case, as initiation can be done in various ways. In Cassiconi, for example, it is done at midnight in a church or in a cemetery, where the candidate takes an oath of secrecy. In other places, the chief of the Mazzeri, who is called a capistrione or a Mazzerone, recruits a neophyte by luring them into an organized hunt, while elsewhere an initiation can be completed by attending a ghost funeral and getting stepped on by another Mazzeri. An organized Mazzeri group can have many names, such as Lega, Mansa, Banda de Linu, or Squatra. The legend of the Mazzeri is quite old. It is believed by many that these practices were transferred to Corsica around 1500 BC from the Iberians, who reached the island from Caucasus, as mentioned by the ancient historian Pausanias. Others trace their appearance to even earlier times, such as Charles Henry, who considered them to be cave people who reached the islands of the Western Mediterranean in pre-Neolithic times. There are also different opinions about the origin of the word Mazzeri as well. Dorothy Carrington, who writes about this tradition in her book Dream Hunters of Corsica, believes that the word Mazzeri comes from Amazza, which means to kill, while Charles Henry believes it comes from Mazza, which means big hunt. The opinion that this tradition is the legacy of a great megalithic civilization has been questioned by some researchers, because the places where megalithic monuments were found do not exactly coincide with the places of appearance of the Mazzeri. Also, no such similar practice is known in other areas of Europe with megalithic findings so far. However, if one considers how incomplete the relevant research is still, it is obvious that we still have much to learn, and all theories are subject to change. Several times in history, the comparison has been made between the Mazzeri and Shamans. Many, in fact, even call the Mazzeri the Shamans of Corsica. The concepts of dreaming, the exploration of the dark world of the dead, and the great role of the animal as the carrier of a person's soul are valid points for such a comparison. The belief that a human can have several states of existence or many different souls, some of which can take the form of an animal, is found among various primitive peoples. Among them are the Caucasians and the inhabitants of Siberia, who believe that man can have up to 4 souls. They believe that one of them has the form of an animal and lives in the steppes. For that reason, they call it the spirit of the steppe. The animal in which a soul has been incarnated must not be killed or captured, because then the corresponding person will die. The similarity with the belief that a Mazzeri's prey contains the soul of a person is obvious, but there is an important difference. Shamans can have spirits that take the form of an animal as assistants, but they themselves are not possessed by the animal. While the shaman has freedom and power, the Mazzeri obey the spirits and destiny, while simply executing or heralding the will of death. Therefore, Mazzerism and the shamanic tradition are quite different in their expression. The Mazzeri are a mysterious but charming reminder of an era where man lived according to natural law. Even though the Corsican tradition's main concern is death, it does not mean the Corsicans are somber people. On the other hand, it proves their connection with nature and the value they give to human life.